I'm Elex Michaelson. This week, the issue is it's happened again. Another school shooting. Is there anything that can be done to stop this trend? And the issue is impeachment. The biggest takeaways from week one of public hearings. We go one-on-one with presidential candidate Andrew Yang. And presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard is here. The issue is starts right now. And welcome to The Issue Is. I'm Elex Michaelson. This weekend, many of the Democratic presidential candidates are attending the California Democratic Convention in Long Beach. Among them, Andrew Yang. The New York entrepreneur has gone from relatively unknown to a political force. We spoke to him in Beverly Hills. Andrew Yang, welcome back to The Issue Is.
Oh, fantastic to be back. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, good to see you. Unfortunately, this week, another school shooting.
It's awful.
We have seen so many Democrats try to do gun control. Even when President Obama had a super majority, he couldn't get it done. How are you going to be able to get done when so many other Democrats haven't been able to get done? Why is it different with you?
Well, I do think that the American people are ready for us to take action on something that should have happened years ago. The consensus is building, and the NRA is at its weakest point in decades. So I believe we can get big things done in terms of common sense gun safety laws that most Americans agree should have happened years back.
So what do you do when the NRA says, no, we're not going to do it? Do you get rid of the filibuster?
I would be open to that if that's what it would take to help make the American people safer. I've got a 4-year-old whose school just had an active shooter drill, and so this is personal. But if you look up, one of the big problems that our government has been overrun by NRA lobbyists and lobbyists for the drug companies, the oil companies. So one of my flagship proposals is to give every American voter $100 democracy dollars that we could use then to flush out all the lobbyist cash and take back our government for us.
Another big story this week, of course, impeachment. What have you learned this week?
No, it's really unfortunate, Alex, but some of your darker suspicions now are coming out to light. But at this point, we know who Donald Trump is. And so I confess to being disappointed but not surprised.
And you've said you believe impeachment is a political loser?
Well, we have to face facts that not a single Republican crossed party lines to vote for impeachment proceedings, and we would need a couple dozen or so Republicans in the Senate in order to impeach Donald Trump and have him out of office. So it's likely not going to happen. My expectation is that he'll be at the ballot box for me to defeat in 2020.
And do you think he'll be strengthened, though, if he is acquitted in the Senate and then you have to run against him?
Well, this is the tough part. So number one, we have to make a case to America for a positive vision that people will get excited about. And when we're talking about Donald Trump, even in the context of impeachment, we are losing. Number two, if he is acquitted, then he's going to run around claiming vindication and innocence. And so his base is going to be galvanized around that.
Let's talk for a moment about your signature proposal, which is universal basic income, that $1,000 a month, the freedom dividend.
Yes, right? Freedom dividend.
Okay, so the biggest question everybody has is, how do we pay for that?
Well, when you look up who are the big winners in the 21st century economy, it's Amazon, Facebook, Google, mega tech companies that are paying either zero or near zero in taxes. And I know this is hard for people to believe, but Amazon, trillion-dollar tech company, paid zero in federal taxes in 2018. So if we give the American people our fair share, a tiny sliver of every Amazon sale, every Google search, every Facebook ad, every robot truck mile, we can generate hundreds of billions in new revenue very quickly and pay for a $1,000 dividend for every American.
Is there a concern that that's going to increase the cost of everything? I mean, one of the reasons people like Amazon is that it's so low cost.
Well, the great thing is if you put $12,000 a year into our hands, it's going to make a lot of Americans be able to afford things that right now are out of reach because we're living paycheck to paycheck. My plan would increase the buying power for the bottom 94% of Americans.
I know you believe that universal basic income is in part an answer to the homelessness challenge that we have here in California, our biggest issue.
Yeah.
How does that actually work, though? I mean, does giving $1,000 to somebody on Skid Row who's got mental problems, who's got a history of potential criminal violations, how does that help them?
I've talked to people who are trying to help get homeless people off the street. And what they tell me is that the first thing they do is see whether or not this individual is entitled to any benefits or programmatic revenue, like whether they're a veteran and have some pension coming in, whether they have welfare benefits, because they then use those funds to help get that person to shelter and into a better situation. After we pass the freedom dividend, every agency will know that every person on the street has $1,000 a month coming to them. We can use those resources to get them to shelter, to help get them treatment, to help them address substance abuse issues, and so on.
Let's talk for a moment about foreign policy, because you're also running to be the commander-in-chief, and you're running against somebody who has been the vice president, sat in the Situation Room, been the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, traveled the world and met with world leaders. You haven't done any of that. How are you more qualified to be commander-in-chief than Joe Biden?
Well, Alex, if you look around, what are the biggest threats of the 21st century? It's not state actors, which was the case in the 20th century. It's climate change, it's AI, it's loose nuclear materials and drones, it's non-state actors. So we have to have a commander-in-chief who's actually focused on where the puck is going, not where the puck has been. I'm particularly concerned about the fact that China may be set to leapfrog us in AI, which is going to be one of the key technologies of this era, both commercially and in the military realm.
Let's talk for a moment about your campaign. I've said that your events are the most fun.
Well, thank you.
Right? And so sometimes you cuss, sometimes you skateboard, sometimes you play basketball. You've done a whole lots of you crowd surf sometimes.
Yes.
What's sort of been the wildest moment with the Yang gang where you were like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened?
Well, the wildest moment was when I met the gentleman who tattooed my face on his calf. Because I saw the image online at first, and immediately you think, is that real?
Right.
And then you meet the person. He's a military veteran. I met him in Iowa, and oh yeah, it's real. So then I had to get a close look and take a picture of my face next to his tattoo of my face. Yeah. So that was probably the wildest experience thus far.
That is a real investment in your campaign.
I'd better win is what I said. I said to him too. I said, now I really have to win, because if you have a tattoo of my face on your calf, I got to make that the next president.
Yeah, he's more invested than anybody. We like to do something called personal issues, which is where we put 30 seconds up on the clock and
all right.
Rapid fire questions. All right?
I like it.
What is your favorite sport to play?
You know this. It's basketball for sure.
Right. Favorite actor or actress?
I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Brad Pitt, man, that guy just never gets old.
Unbelievable. Great shape, right? Last thing that you binge watched?
The last season of Stranger Things I watched pretty quickly.
Best rapper of all time?
Jay-Z.
Favorite athlete of all time?
LeBron James is the first one that came to mind, even though I think Michael Jordan's still the GOAT.
Yeah, good call for a California audience. Favorite Thanksgiving meal?
Is there any other choice but a giant turkey with all the trimmings and then the potato and the gravy and the cranberry sauce and all that stuff?
Favorite presidential candidate other than you?
Right now or just generally?
Right now.
Like in history?
Right now.
Wow. I mean, that's hard to say. I mean, I think fondly of a lot of them. Though the person I get excited to see when I'm going to the debates, and as you know, I'm debating next week, I really enjoy hanging out with Joe Biden. He met my wife last week. He was incredibly gracious.
Favorite Republican?
The first person that came to mind, unfortunately, is the late, great John McCain.
Yeah. Debates next week. You've been prepping for that all day.
Yeah.
What's your strategy?
Well, the fun thing is we're heading to Atlanta, which was where Martin Luther King did most of his work. And my flagship proposal, the freedom dividend, is actually something that Martin Luther King himself championed in the 1960s. He called it the guaranteed minimum income. He said the simplest solution for poverty is to abolish it directly through a guaranteed minimum income. So I hope that being in Atlanta helps get this message out to the American people.
And last question, you're a basketball player. I've talked to Bernie Sanders about his game. I'm a basketball player as well.
Oh, good.
What's your game look like?
Well, my game is aging, aging a bit. So it used to consist of my trying to take people off the dribble and get to the hole. But now it's a combination of things that often ends in a fadeaway jump shot.
I love that. That's what LeBron's doing a lot of these days.
Oh, heck, you can't stay young forever. Father Time, undefeated.
Well, we've got a basketball hoop in our studio, so at some point we hope you'll come join us in the studio and showcase your stuff.
Yeah,
Andrew Yang, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Our thanks to Andrew Yang. Up next, Tulsi Gabbard is here, and I'm playing a Hawaiian version of a classic in her honor. Stay with us. More of The Issue Is right after this.
From Southern California to the Bay Area, you're watching The Issue Is.
We continue our series on The Issue Is with the presidential candidates, and with us this week, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
You're so good, Alex.
We appreciate you being here. Welcome back to The Issue Is.
It's always good to see you.
Of course, the Democratic candidate for president, and also in your role as Congress member, somebody who will vote potentially on articles of impeachment. The big story of this week, we finally have these impeachment hearings publicly. From the evidence that you've seen so far, are you ready to vote to impeach?
No. I think that the public hearings, the information that is being gathered, the testimony that's being delivered before Congress is important.
I mean, do you think that the president committed high crimes and misdemeanors?
Look, I think that we've got to see this process work itself through. You know, there's a reason why I've supported having an inquiry. I have some concerns given some of the information that was released after the whistleblower complaint came out and so on. Transparency, focus, and a nonpartisan approach to gathering the facts is essential for us, the American people, to get to the truth.
Another big story this week is what's happening between you and Hillary Clinton, right? So Hillary Clinton did this podcast where she suggested, without saying your name, that you were potentially an agent of Russia and that Russia was prepping you to be a third-party run. A lawyer has put out a letter to her saying that that's defamatory. Why is it defamatory?
I mean, give me a break. I am a patriot. I'm a soldier serving in the United States Army National Guard. I've served now for over 16 years. I've deployed twice to the Middle East. I serve as a member of Congress. I think really the issue here is that this is not just a personal spat between two people. What this is a very serious difference in our foreign policy. Hillary Clinton and her legacy of foreign policy has been a very interventionist one of promoting and championing regime change wars in different parts of the world, wars that have taken the lives of thousands of my brothers and sisters in uniform. I wholeheartedly disagree with that.
But your lawyer says that this is defamatory, asking for a retraction of what she said.
Yes.
If she does not issue a retraction, are you going to sue Hillary Clinton?
I'm going to let the lawyers try to figure out that, but I think the point that I'm raising here is that if Hillary Clinton and her proxies can do this to me, they can do this to anyone who stands up with a dissenting voice, speaking out for peace, speaking out for an end to these interventionist regime change war policies.
Her point is that she thinks that they're grooming you to run as a third-party candidate. Is there any scenario whatsoever where you would run as a third-party candidate?
No. I've said that over and over for months and months and months.
Another area of disagreement is over the issue of Syria and what to do forward there. There have been some that have criticized your meeting with Bashar al-Assad. You've talked about that a lot, saying that you're on a fact-finding mission there. In terms of the policy of Syria going forward, what do you say to critics who are worried about, if you do pull out the troops, that there's going to be a power vacuum and that bad guys are essentially going to fill it?
I would say that those people don't know very much about our foreign policy. As president now, I would end this regime change effort and make it so that the Syrian people can determine their own future.
So what exactly does that look like? Does that mean all troops are out of Syria?
That means that if our troops are not engaging in an effort to defeat ISIS and al-Qaeda, then bring them home.
And that's true in Afghanistan, that's true everywhere, right?
Yes, because if you look at the tactic that's been used, right? We've had these long-term occupations, these regime change wars, this ongoing nation building that's followed. It's cost us as American taxpayers over $6 trillion.
And for people that would be worried that like blood would be on your hands of people that may get massacred in the meantime.
Look, the blood of our servicemen and women and the countless people in these countries where we have waged these wars is on the hands who have been proponents of these wars, people like Hillary Clinton and others.
You bring a unique perspective. You and Mayor Pete, the only veterans in the Democratic campaign. This week there was this big event at the Coliseum, which you spoke at, honoring veterans there for the first time on Veterans Day. What do you want people to know about veterans that maybe they don't know about veterans, having actually been one?
That it's easy sometimes for politicians especially to give flowery speeches on Veterans Day saying thank you for your service, but that words can be cheap, actions really speak louder than words. And unfortunately, right now, too many of our veterans who are being sent off to fight in these wars in service to our country, unfortunately, oftentimes unnecessary wars, when they come home, they're being left behind.
We're going to have to leave it there for now, but we have more with Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard coming up right after this. And we like to play music on this show. So we're playing a little Bob Dylan, Times Are A-Changin', which I know is a favorite song of yours.
This is an oldie but a goodie. I love this song. It's got a great message that speaks to the times we are in now.
Yeah.
They are a-changin'.
They are. As time as it is. More of these issues. It's amazing how prescient he was. Right? We're back with Tulsi Gabbard. Polls show her gaining ground in a recent New Hampshire poll, but what about California? You're here in California.
Yes.
We love having you in California.
It's great
you get to surf here in California, which is great. We got the California primary earlier than ever, more important than ever. Pretty complicated state with 9 media markets, the most populous state in the country.
Yeah.
Polling shows you, doing so-so right now. How do you improve that? How do you win in California?
Continuing to reach out to voters all across the state. I'm using every platform possible, coming on shows like yours, getting out. We're holding town hall meetings and really going directly to voters so that they can hear my message and I can ask for their support.
Of course, nothing more important than coming on this show. So we appreciate you got that right. And part of coming on this show is we like to have some fun. So we like to play some games. This is called the name game.
Okay.
You hear a little Beyonce there.
All right.
Okay. So this is one word that comes to mind when you hear these names. Okay. Hopefully we don't get you in trouble. President Donald Trump.
Orange.
Vice President Mike Pence.
Indiana.
President Barack Obama.
Hawaii. Come on.
All right. Vice President Joe Biden.
Beau Biden. I was friends with his son.
Okay. Hillary Clinton.
Warmonger.
Kamala Harris.
Criminal justice.
And finally, Bernie Sanders.
Lovable and grumpy.
Of course, you endorsed Bernie Sanders back in 2016 and was one of his most vocal supporters at the time. All right, another game called Personal Issues. This is where we get to know you a little bit better as a person. First question, favorite way to relax?
Surfing, no question about that.
Favorite TV show?
That's a good question. I don't watch much TV anymore.
Okay, we'll keep moving. Favorite sports team?
Tennessee Titans.
Favorite Disney movie?
Moana. I think that's a Disney movie.
Yes, it is. Favorite book?
Band of Brothers.
Favorite meal?
Mom's cooking.
Me too.
Whatever it is.
Favorite conservative?
Good friend of mine is Trey Gowdy.
Yes, the former congressman from South Carolina.
That's right.
Who led the Benghazi hearings. You and him probably very close with Hillary together.
We disagree on a whole lot of things.
Favorite people.
We disagree on a whole lot of things, but we are good friends.
You also did a workout while you were here in Southern California this week, a CrossFit workout on the sand.
Yeah.
How does sort of working out keep you sane?
It's a great just way to get my energy out, and what we did here especially was really special. We had some Navy SEALs who helped run the workout, and it was challenging. It was good.
It looks tough, but you got to be the most fit candidate that we have.
I really believe in health and making sure we take care of our bodies. It's both physical, mental, and spiritual well-being are important.
I certainly agree with you on that.
Yes.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Another thing we like to do on the show is we like to play music. So we're taking one of your walkout songs, Ain't No Mountain High Enough. Why this song?
It's just one of my favorites. There's not really a big explanation behind it. I like it.
It's a great
It's an inspiring song.
Yeah, all right. Well, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, thank you so much for coming in. We can rock out, as you say, more of the issue is right after this. I mean, how are you not in a good mood?
I know. That's what I'm talking about.
A reminder that you can listen to extended interviews and bonus interviews on our podcast, including extra material with Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard. Just search for The Issue Is wherever you stream. And speaking of issues, the LA Times asks, which issues are serious problems here in California? 95% of people say homelessness. 88% say traffic. 85% say housing costs. It'll be interesting to see if any of those issues are addressed during next week's Democratic debate. We'll have complete coverage of that and a whole lot more next week on The Issue Is. We end with some music from Mark Ronson. Thanks for watching. See you next time.